Hi, friends. Welcome back. This is Caitlin. It's so good to have you here. I am so excited to be back live with Pink and Main. We come and hang out every Tuesday and Thursday around 8:30 to about 9:15 Eastern. And this is day 2 of our sneak peek week for the May release that comes out tomorrow. So I have another new stamp set to share with you. This time, instead of coloring, we're going to play with some heat embossing and some of my favorite glitter embossing powders. You guys seem to really like kind of experimenting with those last time, so we're going to play around with those. I see people checking in. Hey, Teresa. Hey, Virginia. I'm so excited. If you're watching, go ahead and drop me a comment or give a thumbs up so that more people get to see that we are live. And I'm going to go ahead and switch over so that you can see the new stuff. So another new stamp set. There we go. So this, let me turn on my other light. This is the Shell-ebrate stamp set. So it's got all these different shells that are kind of solid that you could stamp in, obviously ink, or you could stamp in. I think one day we're gonna have to play with stamping these with like our watercolor powders or something, because I bet you could do something really fun with that too. That won't be today though. I'm not mentally prepared for that. And then you get these beautiful, fun, bold sentiments. And of course, there's coordinating dies for the sentiments and the shells. But I just love how this could be classic. You could make it a little more on the masculine side. You could make it very feminine. You could keep it very neutral, just like a good summer long stamp set. And I love a set like this. So I don't usually, because I love my Copic so much, I don't usually stamp a lot of these kinds of images with just regular ink. It's just, I'm not kind of not in the habit of doing that. There's nothing wrong with it. I love it when other people do it. It's just not super natural to me. And so when I was plotting what we were going to do together, I thought it would be fun to stamp these and then heat emboss them with some really beautiful glitter, so you can see all that glittery goodness, the glitter embossing powders, and then make 2 different cards. So we're going to make a cool toned card and a warm toned card um, with our new Shell-ebrate. And there are a couple other, there's like other related items coming with the release that also kind of coordinate with this. Um, I don't have them in my possession yet, but I'm sure we'll be able to go over them later in the month because, as I've been saying since about, I don't know, February when we started doing these lives, I'm excited for summer. So we will have lots of summer um, crafting coming our way. Don't you worry about that. So I'm thinking I'm going to use probably not this really long skinny one and maybe not the small one. And I don't know about this starfish, but I'm definitely thinking all of these guys. And I want to do some layering with on my card bases with pebble and white. And I also have a scrap of pebble cardstock to do the sentiments in with the frosting white embossing powder just to help them pop. So what I'm thinking is like a 3x3 kind of grid layout. Um, shellfish. That's a good one, Dad. That's a good one. We can be shellfish, which we are creating today. I like it. Oh, it's so good seeing everybody checking in. I see Pennsylvania. I see San Antonio, Texas. I love it. I know Virginia's in Virginia, so that one's easy. I see Mary. I see Terry, Teresa. Oh, that makes me so happy. Okay, let's go ahead and get this prepped. So I'm thinking what I want to do is, sorry, as I was saying, I want to do a 3. I think we can fit. Yeah, it might be a little tight, but I think it'll be okay. Well, we're going to do 3x3 and then a sentiment in the middle. Or maybe like 3, maybe we'll do it landscape. So we'll do 3, 3, and then the sentiment in the middle. We'll do 2 extras. We'll do 8 just in case. We'll do 8 in each kind of color combination. So I have, worst case scenario, I have extra glitter seashells laying around. Who's going to complain about that, right? So I'm going to grab my Misty. Oh, checking in from Georgia. Aren't they so pretty, Terry? I love, Michelle's had some other like seashell themed like embossing folder situations last year too that were just beautiful. And I do love a seashell. So we're gonna just lay all of these more rounded images out. Sure, not really round, but whatever. I mean, we'll try it. Why not? I'm gonna do everything except the really long skinny one and the starfish. And we're just gonna make it work. Little guy there. Trying to make sure I have enough to do, right, like both passes through this with, we'll just like spin it around. Yeah, we'll just spin it around. So let's go ahead and pick up those stamps. You know what? I'll just cut it because I don't want to get the 2 colors combined on my glitter. So this is just an 8.5 by 11-inch cut in half at the 5.5 mark, like you would be cutting it into card bases. So I'm just going to cut that right at 4.25, like we would for a card panel. And we'll just pop that up here. Yep, and that's perfect. And then we'll just use the other side for the other color. So before we can heat emboss, I have my silicone mat here. That's going to help me when it's time to heat emboss because this is going to take a minute to emboss and I want to make sure I'm not melting my desk. And then to prep all of my paper, I have my Pink and Main, there we go, Magic Anti-Static powder brush, powder tool. And this is great because the embossing powder goes right in the bottom. When you get it, it comes in like a little bag and you just pour it in. You just screw that back on top. And then this little part kind of goes up and down and the powder comes right out of the end of the brush. So I like to do a little tapping and then just brush that around. And that's what's going to make sure that there's no oil or static on the surface of your paper that would hold your embossing powder besides where the ink is. And the ink we're going to be using is the Pink and Main Embossing Watermark ink. That all of these things are listed in the description wherever you are watching, by the way. I'm starting to have enough template, like my supply list template saved up that I have like a general embossing one ready now that has all of my embossing tools. Because when I heat emboss, I use the same thing. Even, and I promise Michelle isn't making me say this, even when I'm not using Pink and Main stuff or just doing Pink and Main lives, these are still my go-to embossing products. So for the record, they're just actually really great products. I used to have one of those embossing powder bags, but it got so messy. So I love that the brush keeps everything nice and contained. These are fresh, so I am going to stamp them twice. If they're not like absolutely perfect, I feel like it's going to be okay though too. Just because like the glitter, I feel like makes things a little more forgiving. But also just like the general shapes of these, right? You know what I did not get was a printer paper ready. All right, I can see, I don't know if you guys can see a little bit there. You can see it's definitely on there. So now I'm using Warm Sunset, which has this beautiful like purple to orange shift. And I'm thinking I want to kind of like sporadically apply that. I just kind of drizzled it on, tapping off the extra, right? So you can see we're starting to get a good image. And I take my printer paper. With the glitter ones, you can see even when they're on the middle, there's still glitter on the sides. So you want to make sure that you tap the sides of your printer paper, because you can see when you pour it in, all that glitter falls off of the paper last. That's why it's there in the center. And if you didn't prep your cardstock, that kind of static is what would happen basically to your whole paper. And then this is the peaches and cream. And we're going to fill in that embossing ink with the peaches and cream. Oh, that's so fun. How beautiful is that going to look? Oh my gosh, I love it. Like I thought that this would turn out really pretty, but this is actually seriously exceeding my expectations. Do a first pour over, tap the side of my paper. Enough for me. Right? Aren't those colors so beautiful? I love the warm sunset, and then the one that we're going to use for the blue is the hydrangea, and they both have like a duochrome in them. It's so cool. I'm nervous I'm going to mess this up if I don't just heat set it now. So I'm going to heat set it. I'm going to mute myself because I'm not sure if it's super loud or not. So just stick with me for a minute, okay? All right. So there is our super shiny, super glittery, beautiful, beachy color combination. And when you put it with that pebble cardstock, it's going to give that like sand background kind of feeling. So that was the peaches and cream and the warm sunset. So beautiful. It's so funny because this looks so like orange on camera, but it has that purple embossing like powder and that orange glitter, and that's what's giving that deeper purple. But I feel like if you didn't see it like used, you wouldn't realize that that's how that color reads. So then the other two that I grabbed is denim, which is just going to be kind of like a regular deeper blue, and then the hydrangea, which is this like teal purple shift. And I think it will give us that same kind of idea. It won't be exact, but that's okay. We don't need exact. They don't need to be clones of each other. They can be cousins, not sisters. Like what I used to say for eyebrows when I worked at Sephora. Your eyebrows can be sisters, not twins. These can just be cousins. They're related, but they don't have to look the same. Oh, see, I'm skipping a step. When you do that and you don't catch it, you know right away. Like as soon as you pour your embossing powder, you realize really quick what you did. It unfortunately happens to me more often than I would like to admit when I'm just like in a groove. All right, we're going to still double stamp these. Thank you, Terry and Teresa and everybody. Hey, Jay, I'm excited you caught me live too. I feel like it's been a minute. And just so you guys know, we're live on Facebook and YouTube. So if I mention somebody or a comment and you don't see it, it's probably just because it's on the other platform. But I'm grateful for wherever you're watching from. All right, so let's repeat this process one more time. Let's do our duochrome first because I'd love a little more duochrome than regular. This is a sneak peek. Jay, we're taking a look at the Shell-ebrate stamp set, which is new and comes out tomorrow. For real this time. I quadruple checked. I want a little more down on this one. It ended up being a lot more. But you know what you can do? I have like a very fluffy brush here, and we can just kind of like take a little of that off. Make sure we give that a good tap. And this is beautiful. It has that purple base with that teal glitter. You can also use that fluffy brush to get your glitter back in if you need. It's being stubborn. So that was the hydrangea. And then we're going to go in with denim and fill in rest. And I love that because you don't have to be scared to really pour it everywhere, because anywhere where that first color went down, it's not going to stick there. So you're going to preserve all of that first color. There we go. And I know a lot of people get nervous about crafting with glitter, but in general, I have found that using these like bigger jars has been like the least scary way that I've used it in my few years of card making. All right, so I'm gonna go mute one more time to get these heat set, and I will be right back. Just hang with me for a second. All right. So there, you could see I was like, I like to kind of turn and flash my image into the light in between each one just to make sure that I've really gotten all of that glitter in place. And then once it's set, you don't have to worry about any glitter falling off. Your recipient's not going to get like a glitter bomb. So there are our two different combinations, very different, but very beautiful. And for anyone who jumped in, let me show you a quick look at the actual stamp set really fast. So the Shell-ebrate comes with all of these different shells and then all these really fun sentiments and then coordinating dies that cut everything out. And there are some extra bonus supplies coming that are related to this stamp set. I just don't have them yet. Right, Teresa? I love watching embossing projects. Wish I could just like zoom in. If there's whatever like the ASMR version of heat setting embossing powder, like that's what I want. So we're gonna die cut all of these out. And that's strange. It's on the floor. Why are you over on the floor? If that's not a craft room statement, I don't know what is. Like, why is my tape on the floor? I'm gonna just stick this to my dress, which I'm not gonna lie, does have some glitter on it. All right, so we have our sand dollar. This little guy. We might have to do like every other one. I put them pretty close. That one. This will fit just not yet. That guy. One. That one might be okay. It might really just be that center one that needs this guy that needs to wait his turn. Its turn. These are going to have a pretty good border around them, it looks like. I'm okay with that, especially for the kind of like grid style I'm going for once we get these all adhered down. I thought about doing one of these colors ahead of time, but once these are all die cut, the rest I think is going to go pretty quick. And we just have to pick out sentiments. Okay, I'm going to put this through and I'm going to put a piece of that same printer paper I used to kind of keep everything from all of my embossing powder from spilling everywhere. I'm going to place that right on top just so that my glitter doesn't get yucky. And I'm just pushing that through my embossing machine. We have an escapee. Two escapees. That one tried to make a run for it. So pretty. That one came out a little crooked. Okay. Let's tape off. And that's the thing with once they're embossed, you don't have to worry about tape. You don't have to worry about that glitter going anywhere. And like I might not mind glitter kind of not all over, but you know, in more places than normal, but I certainly don't wish that on my recipient. If I was going to do that, I'd buy one of those crazy glitter bomb things you can get. So I'm just getting these all into place, and then we'll run this last blue one through. Let's see, I don't know why this one doesn't, I want to force it. If you force your dies and they're too close together, you can actually dent one of your dies, or they'll push each other out of the way and you'll get a very crooked image. We don't want that. Because this one came out a little wonky, I'm adding a second piece of tape on that one when we push through this time. Could be the die shifting, could just be user error. I'm still happy with these, no matter how anything goes from here on out. Just this color combination is so good. Put my printer paper on top again. And that's not because I'm worried about the glitter getting on my plate. It's because I'm worried about my dented plate scratching up my glitter. And this is one of those projects where you could do all of this part in one session and then just have like a pile of these seashells, put them in a little baggie or container. And then when you have time or you're feeling inspired to actually sit and make a card or cards, you could do it then. So if you're somebody who likes to kind of compartmentalize or work kind of in sections, if you're feeling glittery one night, you could split this up very easily and not have to worry about like what's going to happen with your little glitter seashells. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, am I going to lose it? Is it going to get scratched? Is it going to get messed up? Not these guys. Oh, thank you, Virginia. They're trying to remind you guys about thumbs up. Thumbs up and commenting really help us to make sure that the algorithms help push these lives out to other card makers and other crafters who might be interested and just not know about us yet. So they are definitely appreciated. The thumbs up and the hearts and all those types of things. Virginia's been following me on my channel for a long time, and I appreciate her so much. All right, let's do our last one. Okay, now we can start our assembly. Let's get to the fun part. And then we'll pick out our sentiments last. I'm not going to put all of the heat embossing stuff away because we still need to heat emboss our sentiments. Although technically we could do them in matching inks. We could do like a blue and a pink or purple. That could be cute. We'll see. All right, so I have side folding card bases ready to go. We'll just set that to the side for a minute. And then my first layer for both of these is going to be a pebble cardstock. I did put in an order for Pink and Main this week. It's actually, of course, it's coming tomorrow, right? I was just like waited one day too long to put in my order for some backup glue and Pebble cardstock because I just go through it so fast. They're like my favorites. Okay, so that there. And if you have come to hang out with me before, you probably know that if we're adhering our panels down flat with liquid glue, that means our sentiment and our images are going to get popped up with foam. So I have to have some kind of dimension on my cards. If I'm doing like a lot of Copic coloring or like a scene, the dimension is not as important to me. But for especially for these kind of like die cut featured solid images, I think that the foam really helps them to stand out. And be as impactful as possible. All right. So whatever I do on one, I think is what's going to happen on the other. Although I did mention you doing a little landscape. I don't want these two in the same one, and I definitely want them facing opposite directions. That's kind of cute. Mm. It doesn't look as grid-like. I kind of like the, it's like 3 across, I think. I think I like that. And then we'll see what sentiments are actually going to fit. That way we have like a little change up. We'll switch up those bottom ones. All right, so we have our friendship is a treasure. I like these like bigger, longer ones if we're not going to add the shells to the sides so that it has like enough weight that it's not going to get lost. I like that. Our friendship is a treasure and celebrating you today. And I think I'm going to do them on Pebble because that's perfectly like size to go across. So the real question is, are we going, while I pop these up with foam, you guys tell me, are we stamping our sentiment and white heat embossing on the pebble, or are we doing a colored ink on the pebble? So we could do like navy blue and either like pink or purple on the other one. You guys give me a vote. Let me know what you're thinking while I get my foam tape. Thanks, Jay. We think Mary says stamping with color. Anybody else have an opinion? I know there's also like a little bit of a delay. Colored ink, colored ink. Okay, cool. Everybody says colored ink. I guess it should be like a two-part question. I was going to do colored ink on Pebble. Should we do colored ink straight onto the white and just have it like right in the middle? Or do we like the Pebble background? Hey, Beverly. Sentiment on the white or sentiment on the Pebble in our colored ink? Virginia says Pebble background with colored ink. Oh no, now we're starting to get out of agreement. I think I see more people saying Pebble. Oh, oh, there you go, Linda. Linda says one of each. And you guys know how I like a one of each tiebreaker. I was gonna die cut the sentiment if we do with the Pebble, stamp it and die cut it. But if we do it straight onto the white, I think I would just stamp it right onto the card base. Although now that I have this one popped up with foam. Although if we do one of each, that would make it easier. So because this shell is kind of angled up to the left, I'm going to angle this one up to the right just to kind of, I don't know, balance that out. All right, so I think I'm going with stamping in navy straight onto this one because I don't have the foam in the way. And then this one we will stamp with color on Pebble. The question is the color for that. So definitely the dress shop navy. I'm just, let's do a little Pebble swatch. That purple looks so blue. I don't know. The purple just looks so dark. Maybe we'll do the white heat emboss on the Pebble and then we'll do colored ink straight on. I just think it's going to be a lot better color theory wise. So let's get the navy. And I'm not panicking about keeping these in exactly the right spot, but I am going to leave them there for a second so that I can figure out where my sentiment needs to go. So let's do our friendship is a treasure. Make sure it's pretty centered. See how that lines up on my grid. That's pretty good. Get these guys out of the way. I'm going in with the dress shop ink, which is that really beautiful blue. And I am going to stamp it twice. But I do have to tell you that I really have a soft spot for how that first one stamped. It was like a little bubbly almost. That's nice. So that one's a little to the side, I think, but not enough to bother me. Not enough to make me start over, that's for sure. All right, and then for celebrating you today, we'll do that on the pebble with white, and we'll die cut that one. Michelle, if you watch this later or you're watching now, this is my message that I'm ready for an extended ink line. I need whatever ink you think would go with this card. See, I love doing the embossing onto pebble because you can actually see it versus like on white cardstock. So that I know I didn't miss any spots. Later. I feel like we're on a little bit of a time crunch. We're not doing too good. So that was the frosting white embossing powder. And then we'll heat set that, get it die cut, and then wrap up. All right, kneading one more time. Like I'm a sucker for like a dainty frilly sentiment in general, but when I'm heat embossing, a bold sentiment is just so easy to work with. Oh goodness. Yeah, I got it. Figuring out the dyes is like for the sentiments is always like the hardest part for me, right? Because it's like inverted. Save that for another time. Let's screen through. Is an arm workout for the day. There we go. Celebrating you. Oh, I love that. And these are definitely a lot more clean and simple for me. Like I know there's still a lot going on, but still a little bit out of my comfort zone in a good way. It's foam taped up. Celebrating you. I'm gonna drop it and check it before I commit. As long as you don't push down, you have that little bit of wiggle room. And then once you give it a good squish, all right, there is our first one. Celebrating you today. Man, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, and then our friendship is a treasure. Okay. I need one of those like whatever material that is that they make scissors out of that like don't stick to tape. I need that. These scissors stick to all of the tape and rip stuff. You know what? I have these. I should try these. Whiskers. Yeah, of course. Circle goes up in this corner. And we said only the bottom one is switching. I think that. Oh, serrated ones. Oh my gosh. Right? The stamped in the white is fun. I love white embossing on a like a craft background. And the pebble is just such a good, like true neutral craft. Wait, that one's going to be the center. I want to make sure that it is centered. So let's do our two outside ones first. I guess I like kind of subconsciously did that on the top too, huh? All right, and then our sweet little, all right. There are our two cards wrapped up. We've got some extra bonus shells. This was our sneak peek at the Shell-ebrate, right? Shell-ebrate you? Just Shell-ebrate. The Shell-ebrate stamp set that is coming out tomorrow in the coordinating dies. We played with our glitter embossing powders to get this beautiful shine. I love them both. I think they're super fun. I hope that you enjoyed hanging out. I hope that you liked these sneak peeks. If there are any other techniques or things you want to use, or once you see the if there's other products in the release that I haven't used yet that you want to see used next week, definitely drop me a comment either on Facebook or on YouTube. And I will double check with them on like Sunday or Monday as I'm planning out the week, and we will continue playing with a newness next week. So I'm so grateful that you came to hang out with me. Thank you for your patience and for putting up with me while I was muted so that we could heat emboss. I hope that you all had the most amazing weekend. I hope you love the release tomorrow. And I will see you back here on Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And until then, happy crafting, guys.